I want to talk about free. How can education be free? How could you take something like education and make it free? Because it seems to be one of the biggest obstacles that I'm hearing. You can't make it free because what about the schools, or what about the teachers, and so on and so on and so on. Now, free is a very subjective word, and what may be free to one person is not free to another. And let's take, for example, water. If I go to a park and I'm jogging and I want to stop and I drink from that fountain, is that water free? Appears to be free to me. I just stopped and drank. It's free to me, but is it really free? The answer is no. Someone's actually paying for that water. It's getting there. Well, you know, education is the same way. Whether you're creating open education resources, every OER being created, someone's paid for. Someone's paid their salary, they're taking a lecture, you know, their material, whether it's MIT World. MIT's paid for that content and they're choosing to put it up there. Now, is that content free? It has the perception of being free, but in reality it's not free because someone had to pay to get that up there. Now, are they continually have to pay for that content? No, it's up there. Now, what does that mean for professors? It means that they can do a lecture, they can put it online, and they can tell their students, you know what? Here's the lecture, watch the lecture, we're going to spend class actually working on problems. So now the professor has become his time has become more valuable because he's not having to duplicate his work that he's done before, because pretty much every time a professor's lecture is going to be the same. You know, it's not going to change that much. So there's an opportunity even for the professor, but free. How do you make global education free? And I gotta look at that. So the other way to make something free is to bundle it with other services. Now look at things like Wikipedia, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. To the ordinary user, they seem free, don't they? But you know, look at Facebook. They've got a staff to pay. They're creating this content. They're creating the code. They're having to pay. No different than education. Same thing with Twitter. Same thing with Facebook. Now, it took LinkedIn like 4 years to become profitable. I think they were founded like in 2003 or 4 or something, and now finally in 2007 they turned a profit. And maybe the same will be for global education, where you know, initially there is no profit, but as the momentum, the scale, as we scale up, there will be profits. So the opportunity too is to bundle education with something else. For example, let's look at India. You know, India has really, for the most part, no education system for its average person, and most. As I listen to talk, most of the wealthy people set up private schools for their children to go to, but the majority of the ordinary Indians don't really have much of an option, and it may be just one room with one teacher with 50 or 60 students. Now, what if we could bundle education with banking or cell phone penetration? And what I mean by that is this: is that let's give away education and say, listen, have the government basically foot the cost of the technology, the hardware, as because ultimately it's going to be cheaper than building all the infrastructure. Or maybe we will build all the infrastructure, but we need to have a cushion to get us there. Here's your cushion. We give every Indian, a $99 piece of hardware that they can pay off, or maybe it's free, or it's part of the social welfare benefit of being every family gets one device, maybe, not even each child, that they can share. And this device not only can be used for education, it can also be used for census taking, it can be used for news and other, it can really function as a television for the family or a radio. It can be functioned as the bank for the family, and so on. And it uses basically sophisticated ID software that recognizes the primary user and the siblings. So if a child picks it up, it automatically goes to game mode or to education mode. If a parent picks it up, it goes to administrative mode. And it may say, well, check my online bank. Okay. And you say your pass or whatever, or you put your fingerprint or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. There's many different ways to safeguard it. And you can deposit, transfer whatever money that you want to do with it. And it could be used as voting and census and everything else. That's called bundling. Now, education then becomes just a means to getting the knowledge out there. And it really is a very simple idea for India and it's a very cheap idea in the cost. When you think about the cost of building infrastructure and everything else, training teachers, turnover, the bureaucratic backbone behind education that you need to have, it's easy. So free is subjective, free is relative. Don't be turned away. When I talk about free education, think about what I mean instead of just assuming what I mean. And we're not talking about taking jobs away from teachers. We're talking about creating more opportunities for them, because schools ultimately aren't going to go anywhere, and teachers aren't going to go anywhere. And what we do need is more teachers, more schools, and there's more demand than we can ever meet with manpower. And I like what Arthur C. Clarke said was, if you can replace a teacher with a machine, do it. But I don't look at that we're going to be replacing any teachers with any machines, just enhancing what they do.